Welcome everyone to Flyover Footy. My name is Matt Baker, and we have a special edition of Flyover this midweek. I'm joined by Matt Sebek, the Chief Experience Officer of St. Louis City, to talk about some upcoming activities that the club has planned for and some of the circumstances surrounding those. So, Matt, first of all, thanks for joining us and welcome in.
You bet. It's a party of the Mats. Here we go.
Let's get going. 2/3 of the way or so through the 2024 season. It's in the books. Broad strokes from your perspective, how's everything been from the front office, the fan experience so far this year?
Well, I mean, I'd be lying if I said it wasn't. It hasn't been challenging, certainly, but I actually think, we've had some mid-year conversations, kind of state of the union of how things are going and what the sentiment is from the fan base, and always looking for areas to improve. I think actually it's been a bit poetic to start last year, very romantic, enter Major League Soccer and sit atop of the Western Conference, and then this year to have some challenging results. But I think for the business side, because we don't control the results on the field, it has we got to be sharper. We have to be better, and we have to continually raise our game. So I think it's actually been really quite nice for our business to kind of see a bit of both of that and look at what works, what doesn't. And, we're still excited for the back half of the season. So everyone is really positive, great, I think, corporate culture that's from our ownership group down. So, it's kind of a mixed bag. And if we look at last year and this year in totality.
As the MLS season itself has reached this month-long pause, City's still going to be in action over the next few weeks. That's kind of why you're here. As we've stated previously on Flyover Footy, our focus is on the team, the fans, our players. But we remember that this is a unique year. And so I have to say right off the bat that we have at Flyover Footy unwavering support for the U.S. Open Cup. However, fans, listeners, viewers want to take in the next few matches, if they choose not to, City was going to see over the next few matches the debut of Marcel Hartl. They're looking to get their ducks in a row for the home stretch of the MLS push. But today, with you here with us, Matt, can you start off by talking a little bit about why you're here, what's coming up for City, and what the club has planned for these next few matches?
Yeah, I think there's kind of a number of things that are intersecting at once. And you mentioned a bit of the serendipity of, three big signings for us, substantial signings that are going to play big roles moving forward, not just this year, but in the next couple of years here. And that Leagues Cup is now the first chance for City fans to see these three players in action. So we're really excited about Leagues Cup, not necessarily, not just as a tournament itself, and that tournament kind of have its own chances for us to reboot and reset, but that it includes the addition of three new players. So I think for us as a club, it's exciting. I saw all three players yesterday. Cedric obviously played, and JGR played against Sporting KC, but Marcel Hartl is in town. And to have those guys just around the clubhouse and around the team, there is a feeling of rebirth in the air, which I think is important.
And using them specifically as a platform for, I think, some fan engagement this week. I know just even today, as we're recording this, I saw an opportunity for fans to come win an opportunity to see them in person, sign autographs. So how has it been from their perspective to, I guess, play a part in this?
I think it's been great. The signing event that you mentioned will be, an exclusive thing offered to My City Plus members on Tuesday afternoon. So I think, for us, signings, especially international ones, we haven't always had the benefit of getting them into town and creating content and video before the announcement actually happens. So a lot of times these signings can they're very digitally internet driven. But so the fact that, reminding fans that it's real, they're in town, they're ready to contribute, they'll be at home wearing our colors on Saturday, I think is an important aspect. So we as a club have leaned up probably a little bit harder than we have in the past on using player-driven marketing tactics. But this certainly felt like right place and right time to do that.
You usually seem like you make media rounds when the club has something big to announce or reveal or some big momentous occasion. This year is the second year of Leagues Cup, though. It existed last year. St. Louis participated. So how would you characterize, what would you say has led to kind of this publicity push that you're making right now?
I think some of it is really just education. This is our second year in the league, but it's also the second year Leagues Cup has been around. And these midseason tournaments are not something that exists in baseball and hockey. And for, the casual sports fan, that we cannot ignore that they're in City Park on Saturday nights. We have to help them understand what these midseason tournaments mean. There are things at stake. It's a chance for our team, as I mentioned, to reboot. So really making sure that people understand what the tournament is and why it's important to us as a club is really of utmost importance. So that's really what we're doing this week and last week is building on that awareness because I think it's a good opportunity. And the fact that these games are not yet sold out represents opportunities for new fans to get involved that haven't experienced the magic of City Park. So any opportunity we can to bring new fans into the fold and hopefully create lifelong City fans is something we're all on board for.
So this is a midseason tournament and unique in that regard, but it's not the only outside tournament that St. Louis has participated in. So what are some of the reasons why the club chose to make this year's tournament a more unique experience, not just with the players, but I think there's other activations, activities planned that differs from a typical MLS match, even differs from what you've done in the past with the Open Cup or Champions Cup just this year?
I think for these midseason tournaments, as I mentioned, of building education and awareness of it, whether it's Open Cup or Leagues Cup, really from a club level, looking at it as a bit of a different product. There are different teams, different competitions. In the case of Leagues Cup, we're playing Liga MX, so you bring a different fan base and different cultures center circle. That I think we have to look at it like we're creating a product, and if the product isn't sticking, we got to change the product. And so for Leagues Cup, we want to do things that are deliberately different than MLS games. So one of the things we're going to do is we're going to do a player processional, a walk-in in our plaza area, Lufuse Plaza. Players are going to arrive and be dropped off in the plaza and have a chance to walk in amongst kids and fan bases and our supporter groups and our street team, and really create a more of a college game day environment where every year, hopefully fans can look forward to things that are a bit different than they are on a regular Saturday night Major League Soccer game.
And as far as the on-field matchups go, it seems like over the past not just few weeks, but months, on the field action for Leagues Cup, at least here in St. Louis, has taken more of a backseat to the off the field drama surrounding Leagues Cup, the larger discussion around soccer in the U.S. I'm sure our listeners know, but the supporter groups of City have organized a boycott as far as their organizations and leadership goes. That's a direct fallout from MLS's decision to not fully participate with their teams, including City, in the US Open Cup. So with that having such a direct impact to the fan experience, trying to stick in your lane here particularly, can you
Mhm.
talk a little bit about the club's feelings on this boycott and their overall feelings of the Open Cup itself?
Yeah, I think it's first and foremost, we'd be remiss not to acknowledge the Open Cup's contribution and St. Louis's contribution to Open Cup and kind of how those two have come together. And Open Cup represents such a vital part of St. Louis's rich soccer history that we have definitely leaned into, both in the architecture of the brand and how we've built the fan base, and obviously, the contingent that was involved with STLFC and various other professional clubs in St. Louis. We are benefactors of that, and you see the game day experience and having such an organized supporter collective that rivals anything in North America. So we don't take that for granted. And so being kind of caught between a bit of a rock and a hard place where we had voiced our advocacy for Open Cup as a tournament and very much wanted to participate into it. This year we were not able to because of our qualification for the CONCACAF Champions Cup, but very much wanted to be a part of the conversation of the importance of Open Cup, our participation in it moving forward, but also bringing our supporter groups along for that ride. So the last couple of weeks, we have really, I think, doubled down on that. We've brought in representatives from both Major League Soccer and set up conversations with U.S. Soccer, who now is the controlling interest of the Open Cup tournament, and just really have provided a level of transparency that I think is pretty unparalleled for a Major League Soccer organization, to make sure that our supporter groups understand where we fit in the whole scheme of things and can be a part of that platform and opinion moving forward. So I think we're bullish on the club's participation in not only Leagues Cup but Open Cup moving forward, and just wanted to provide all those details for our supporter groups.
And I think a lot of the fans I would consider St. Louis fans educated in this regard, knowing that the statements made by Diego Gigliani, by the city organization themselves, have backed the Open Cup. But Just from a front office perspective, as far as you know, and you alluded to it, I think, but the decision to not participate in the U.S. Open Cup this year, and honestly, the decision to require teams to participate in Leagues Cup, that comes from MLS headquarters, MLS front office, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of these circumstances, whether we're talking Leagues Cup or Apple TV, that is really done for hopefully the collective good of the league and the continued growth of soccer in America. So I think there are things about Leagues Cup to like. That's not without challenges. I think if you look at Open Cup, it is certainly a tournament that romance is at the center of it. We like to see these amateur teams being put on the same platform as some of the big dogs, and that David versus Goliath story. Like, we all have Open Cup stories that are part of our United States soccer fandom, but the reality of how that tournament makes money and the costs associated with it, the streaming numbers and the awareness of it. In the conversations the last couple of weeks and the discovery around, Major League Soccer and U.S. Soccer have a really good ongoing dialogue about what can be done and what can be changed, and how both sides can win, and how really U.S. Soccer said, we want this tournament to be a sign of unity moving forward and not something that creates divisions and protests. So I think that we're in this kind of weird bridge stage where everybody agrees that they want the game to grow and that tournaments are a really good way to do that. But how we transition out of the legacy of Open Cup and how that's embraced in the ecosystem moving forward, I think is just something we're all going to have to grow with. And given that we're new, I think, sit here and be very confident with the level of transparency that we've given our fans around that process.
And I think as far as the fan base goes, or at least my interactions with them, a lot of this is looking at it from both angles, looking at the importance and respect that the tournaments like the Open Cup provide to the fabric of soccer in St. Louis. But also, you do have to acknowledge the importance that MLS and Liga MX are placing on Leagues Cup as a platform to grow soccer in this country. So when it comes to the responsibility that St. Louis City SC has in towing that line between history, legacy, carrying that forward and not leaving it in the past, as well as a foundation like Leagues Cup is building to grow the game beyond, these conversations that you're facilitating between fans and the organizations themselves. Is this kind of your change agent approach, trying to be that facilitator, knowing where the game was and the game is going?
Yeah, no doubt. And, it's also a bit of to give credit where credit is due. Our supporter groups are a big reason why the experience at City Park is talked about across not only North America, but globally, as broadcasters compare us to, a Bundesliga's match, and the color and the vibrancy and the noise that they bring every single Saturday night is pretty phenomenal. So especially with the new signings and especially with the team having a bit of challenge that they didn't have last year, I think giving them a proper home environment to get back on track is something that everybody needs, and it's something everybody's looking for. So, being very transparent on the challenges that we as a club face between, legacy and newness of two different tournaments with two very different purposes. I think the most we can do is to be very open, communicative, transparent with our supporter groups, and hopefully make them part of the process as both of these entities shape what the new future looks like.
And whether it's supporter groups, individual supporters, or fans alike who are unaffiliated with the supporter groups, how do you get over the hump for fans who view Leagues Cup more as a direct competitor to the US Open Cup, or they may feel like watching, listening, or attending is somehow giving into MLS and how they've approached things in 2024? How do you look to bridge that gap to these kinds of fans and encourage them to attend or at least participate in the Open Cup conversation or Leagues Cup conversation?
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that we've tried to make very clear in the communication the last couple of weeks is there are bigger business decisions outside. We represent one of 29 clubs in Major League Soccer, and as you look at these tournaments, the numbers are even more vast. So for us, it is we no matter who we're playing or what tournament we're competing in, we want to show our very best self at City Park. So we know that ultimately fans have a decision on what tournament or what matches they choose to support. For us, we don't really have the luxury of carving that up and making that decision. We just want to create the very best experience every time our team's playing at home.
And I feel like part of the role that the club plays in orchestrating this fan experience is kind of knowing what fans want before they do, but also respecting the things that they respect. And that covers a lot of ground and it manifests itself in different ways. But specifically looking at these kinds of topics, what's your elevator spiel in how the club can respect these various opinions and things that may be outside of your control while still looking to sell tickets, provide the unique experience, create that atmosphere we know and love? Is it almost you have to set aside one aspect of it? Or how would, if you were having a conversation and I wasn't interested in Leagues Cup, how would you sell it to me?
Well, I think it's very we as a club, and when the team was announced and we ultimately revealed the name of the team, the crest, colors, etc., it was very much one of the ways we talk about the brand is always making sure that we're nodding to our past, but with an outlook for the future. And so that is very much to say that we should be very proud of where we've been, and the experiences that got us to where we're going. But it's to never be settled on the past, and that we believe that the brightest days of the club and our soccer history are not behind us, that they're ahead of us. And I think it's actually very serendipitous for where we find ourselves right now, is that Open Cup certainly needs to be a part of our future. And there's a lot of gratitude that we give to the past of what Open Cup has meant to the growth of soccer, not just in St. Louis, but in North America. But that we can also be excited for what the future means. And I think the construct of Leagues Cup is an exciting one. And I think the clash of cultures, and for anyone that was in the building for when we played Club America at City Park, there was a vibrancy in the air of those competing fan bases that it was just different than Major League Soccer games. And that's the best way I can probably describe it, is the culture and passion that these different fan bases bring is really, really exciting. And the fact that we get to be a part of that international competition is exciting. So I don't think it's necessarily that these two things have to compete. We as a club want to compete in both of them, but I think it brings a little bit of a different experience in both tournaments, and there's hopefully room for both.
And there's fans across the spectrum, those who say you didn't compete in Open Cup in 2024, they're not going to support Leagues Cup in 2024. But there's also the fans who say we want St. Louis to be making meaningful strides to return. And so they were heartened greatly by the press release, the information that you as a club sent out with those conversations, the supporter groups and the league. Do you
Yeah.
have any updates on where those future conversations may go? Are there regular touch bases that are occurring, and how do you get a sense for how that's progressing?
Yeah, and really just to recap on that, we when the decision was made, we strongly pushed for Open Cup participation, and that was validated last week as we brought in Major League Soccer Executive Vice President Nelson Rodriguez, who has 30 years in the league, spent time with a lot of different soccer organizations, including Chicago Fire, now with MLS, and really was able to validate the opinions that we brought forward at the league level, shared it with the supporter groups. And then we set up a conversation with US Soccer, who now, as I mentioned, now they are the controlling interest of the Open Cup. That was, of course, inherited from Soccer United Marketing, the SUM organization, who previously ran point on the Open Cup before that. And so Michael Azar from US Soccer was able to speak with our supporter groups again and again, validated not only the position of City, but I think corroborated the positivity that is felt between these two organizations. I think publicly, it is thought of that US Soccer and MLS are very much at odds. I don't think that is the case at all, and I haven't seen that firsthand. I think they're working together to give Open Cup a bit of a necessary reboot, with an eye towards the future on what that means for how fans discover the competition, how that competition is streamed, how new fans become aware of the romanticism of it. So that is really the activities that we have taken, is to be very vocal, to hopefully be a part of that product committee moving forward, where we can really help shape the future of Open Cup, Leagues Cup, and everything in between.
Well, Matt, I appreciate your time so much in giving us this depth of knowledge, the background, the scope, and ideas you have going forward. So is there anything else that you want to make sure fans are aware of for the next couple of weeks, maybe even the next month or so, if St. Louis is able to progress in this tournament? The floor is yours. Anything else you want to, maybe a teaser of sorts to go along with the player processional and things that players or fans can look forward to?
I just think I keep on saying the word serendipitous. I think there is a lot of serendipity in the air of, it kind of, I guess, is fate in a way that, it is Leagues Cup, which has had a bit of tension here locally, rightfully so. But that it is Leagues Cup that we find ourselves upon on Saturday. But with the team, with an eye towards the future and a reboot and the new players in, like soccer is all about joy and escapism. And I think that's the feeling that people have at City Park. So we never really wanted to be a part of anything that created division in our fan base. And I really don't believe Major League Soccer and U.S. Soccer want to be a part of that as well. So, I would just say, Saturday is a really good opportunity to come out and see, some new players that I think will breathe some life into the side. It just, yes, happens to be the Leagues Cup tournament, but I think it's a really good opportunity for us all to kind of get together and enjoy some soccer at City Park again.
And St. Louis City plays at City Park this Saturday. I believe it's an 8 p.m. kickoff, if I saw
8 p.m.
correctly, at
8
City
p.m.
Park.
kickoff. Yep, that's right. And then we come back again the following Sunday against FC Juarez. So that'll be another fun international little competition here at City Park.
Winnable matches for City. Looking forward to seeing those new players make their debut. Matt Sebek, Chief Experience Officer for St. Louis City. Thank you so much for your time on Flyover Footy.
Thanks, Matt.
And that's it for us. We will be back for a preview of sorts with FC Dallas later on this week. My name is Matt Baker. Thank you for joining us on Flyover Footy, and we'll talk to you later.